All right, this episode of the Hunt Suburbia podcast is with Bill Haas. Bill, we get into a lot of good stuff, but we talk about hunting the islands in Massachusetts. So, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, it's definitely heavy on Nantucket talk, but if you've ever been interested in going out to Nantucket to hunt deer, they've got a great population of deer out there, some really nice bucks. We get into how to do it, what to look for, how to prepare, and you really got to kind of approach it like it's an out-of-state hunt. It's a unique experience. There's some logistical things, but if you've ever been interested in that, this would be a great podcast. Bill also gets into, he went out to John Eberhart's saddle up thing that he does out in Michigan. So you got to meet John, go through all the saddle setups, talk about hunting strategies with John Eberhart, something that I would like to get out to at some point. Obviously a legend in the game of hunting and saddle hunting and bow hunting. I mean, he's just, most of you guys probably know who John is, so we'll talk about that experience a little bit as well. Before we get into the podcast, just a couple of quick housekeeping things and reminders when it comes to hunt stock. So still looking for volunteers. So far we've got about 10 volunteers signed up out of, I'd like to get up around 50, 60 volunteers. So again, if you want to volunteer, which is a full day shift on either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you're going to get entry to the other 2 days of hunt stock for free. You're going to get an extra door prize raffle ticket on the day that you volunteer. You're going to get entered into a volunteer-only raffle, which will have some awesome prizes. So your chances of winning a door prize in the volunteer-only raffle are much better than the door prizes for overall hunt stock. And you'll get to shoot the course for free and get a volunteer shirt. So there's lots of awesome perks. You get to meet a bunch of cool people. I think it'll be a great experience. So if you want to volunteer, hit me up, DM me, or send me an email, huntsuburbia@gmail.com. We have a few targets still available to be sponsored for $100 for the 3D archery course. So if you want to sponsor a target, we'll get your name, your business name, or personal name, whatever, on a yard sign and put it up at one of the 20 targets we're going to have in our 3D archery course. And all of this sponsorship money is going directly to give to those who is our official charity partner at Huntstock and a 3D archery course. So if we get all 20 targets sponsored, which it looks like we will, that's a quick $2,000 we're going to donate to give to those.org who benefits military veterans. And we are also going to give additional portion of the revenue from the 3D archery course to them as well. So I'm encouraging everybody to come to Huntstock, bring your bow, shoot the course at least once. It's going to be $20 to shoot the course, and should be a great time. That is the course is going to be scored in a unique way. We're going to score it kind of like golf. So the 12 ring shots, the best shot you can have in 3D archery, in the small bullseye. Instead of getting 12 points, you're going to take 2 points away from your score. So you get -2, just like an eagle is in golf. If you get a 10 ring, it's -1, like a birdie in golf. The 8 ring is a par, so it's no change to your score. If you miss all of the rings and you hit the target at all, it's +1. And if you completely miss the target, it's +2. So the goal is to have the lowest score possible. Finish under par, finish in the negative would be an awesome score. And that's how we're going to do it. There's no prizes or anything, but we'll have scorecards and we'll announce, the leaderboard at the end for the different divisions that we have. But it'll all be for fun. We're raising some money for Give to Those. Just looking forward to having people participate in that. So bring your bow, bring an extra $20 if you want to participate in a 3D archery. pretty much that's it. Everything else is going awesome for Hunt Stock. Again, if you're listening and you have any kind of a YouTube page or podcast or business in the hunting industry, reach out to me, huntsuburbia@gmail.com, and we will figure out how to get you to Hunt Stock. Please share the word on volunteering. Building that volunteer base up is going to be key, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Hunt Stock later this summer. But for now, let's get into this podcast about Nantucket hunting with Bill Haas. Okay, ready?
Yep.
All right, we got another episode of the Hunt Suburbia podcast, and we got Bill Haas here. How's it going, Bill?
Hey, how you doing, Pat?
Hey, good, man.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming up.
Yep.
Bill drove up, and you brought me a turkey breast, a wild turkey breast from your successful turkey kill this year, right?
That's correct.
Thank you so much for that. That'll be actually the first wild turkey you've ever tried. So.
And as being the host of a podcast, I'm shocked.
Well, I'm still pretty new to the podcast, and if you've listened to a bunch of them, I'm not super big into turkey hunting yet.
Okay.
Because I'm afraid to get into it.
Yeah. Oh, just like duck hunting.
I don't want it to become my new obsession and take over, from deer hunting or I've got so much stuff going on with the podcast, the day job, Hunt Stock. It's like I can't really handle it, plus the family and everything, So I'm a little afraid to. So I will try it. So Bill told me just to put it in a skillet with a little olive oil, some garlic, and just do a quick sear on each side, maybe a couple minutes, and
you just keep it simple.
That's how we'll do it.
That's all. I know it's already been brined, and typically when you take a bird and you breast it out, and depending, a lot of people just take the breast, but a lot of people take the whole bird.
Oh yeah.
And they'll do legs and stuff, and you can crock pot it and do a lot of different things with it. But I've already brined that one I just gave you. The piece off that breast I gave you has already been brined, so you don't have to worry about getting any salt into it. Typically, I'll brine when I take a bird, I'll brine it for about 4 to 5 hours, and that seems to be for the brine mix that I use. It seems to be about the right hit for it, and it's not too much, it's not too little, it's just about right, and it really sets the meat up really good.
Yeah.
And you can keep it real simple. It's a quick cook, like I'd mentioned to you earlier when I gave it to you. Just a quick sear on both sides, just a few minutes. Let it rest. Wrap it in foil. Let it rest for a little bit, and then just slice it up and just like medallions almost, like a backstrap. Because the piece I gave you is similar to a backstrap, is what it looked like.
Yeah.
And it's simple like that, and you don't have to go crazy with it.
Yeah, that's all. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and you will find that it is better than any store-bought turkey that you've ever eaten in your life. You're going to flip.
And see, it's funny because I've heard different. I forget who told me, but I've heard like, no, they're not even that good at eat. They're not that great eating. They're just fun to shoot.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's probably like anything else. Like you always get those guys who don't know that bear meat is really good if you take care of that the right way.
Correct.
People will sully the bear meat's name.
Yeah, and I've had that with some friends of mine who have family up in Maine that have brought bear down and moose, and I think probably my favorite meat of wild game meat that I've had so far is moose, Maine moose. I love it. I mean, it's and I'm also in on the Maine moose lottery. I've got a bunch of points over the years, and that maybe I'll get drawn in my lifetime. Maybe I won't.
Yeah,
we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's a tough draw. Lee Shand's a good Lee from Big Woods Bucks. There, it took him 40 years to get drawn, and then he did, and he shot a Boone and Crockett moose this past year.
Yeah. I have a good hunting buddy of mine who's got some property up in Maine, and he's a very successful moose guide. When he goes up there, he will guide like family and friends who do draw a tag. And they're out, they'll get everything set up. It'll take him like a week to get things rocking and rolling, but he's 100% on a success rate for guiding family and friends. That's all he does. He doesn't do anything really for pay that way. So I'm hoping to put him to work in my lifetime. Someday. We'll see.
That would be great.
We'll see that.
It's something I got to get better at is putting in for those lotteries and building points up in different places.
It's like almost like a whole different avenue of hunting when you get into that western hunting or even like the Maine Moose Lottery, which is really world famous for the day that they draw it, and they have broadcast it now over the internet live, I believe, where you can watch the draw results. And But that whole western hunting draw, I'm just starting to get into that. I do have some points for Colorado for elk and mule deer, and I do have some points for Wyoming for antelope over the last few years I've started to accumulate. And they do have services that will take care of that for you, where you'll pay them a fee and they know the dates, the cutoff dates, and how to apply. And because it can be, every state is so different.
What's the name? Is there an app or is it a website?
It's like Hunting Fool is one of them.
Hunting Fool?
Yep, and they have an app and they have a website. They're just one of the more
good idea.
Yeah, one of the more well-known avenues for that. And it can get, depending on what you're looking for and what you want looking the draw, it can get really daunting. I mean, it can be overwhelming when you're trying to figure different things out.
Especially if you've got, 5-day jobs or whatever.
Exactly. When you're busy like yourself.
Yeah.
When you've got all kinds of different projects going on.
It's a great idea.
And stuff. And it can be very expensive. It can be reasonable. Antelope is like $35 a point each year you apply for it. That's pretty reasonable. Colorado, you have to get at least a minimum of a small game hunting license before you can even apply for the point for elk. So that's $85 approximately. Then to apply for the preference point for elk's another $100. So you're in for almost $200 every year just applying for that elk.
So most people probably get that small game license and then don't go out there and shoot squirrels.
Like me, I've got I've had my small game license for Colorado. It's been sitting in a file folder for the last few years and whatnot. But you can't apply for the point. They don't have point only type of system like Wyoming has, where you can physically just pay for the point and walk away from it. You've got to actually get the license, then apply for the point.
Yep.
Or you can't get into that. So I'm just starting to get into that, kind of like broadening, I guess, hunting horizons, so to speak, to some degree, in addition to whitetail deer and turkey hunting. And I have duck hunted in Arkansas on the Delta Flyway with a buddy of mine who has a duck club down there, and that is a blast. That was my initiation into hunting with the duck club, and that could be completely addicting without even doing anything else.
Oh, I've heard. That. Yeah, the whole waterfowl game.
Yeah.
It's a lot more social, too, going out with buddies. And
it is, yeah.
So we'll just lay the land on what we're going to get into in this podcast. You got a lot of interesting things we're going to talk about.
Sure.
But you just got back from the Eberhart. He had a saddle get together.
Yep. John Eberhart, the modern day godfather of saddle hunting. Yep. And if anyone is into saddle hunting to any degree, if you've been into it for more than a couple weeks, you probably have heard the name John Eberhart.
Oh yeah.
And so he is the foremost guy on that. Probably the most successful saddle hunter in the United States, based on his criteria of hunting just free permission, knock on door, private property.
And most of it, if not all of it, in Michigan, too, which is a tough state to hunt.
Correct.
Right?
Yep, that most heavily pressured deer state in the United States. And he does travel out of state when Michigan gun season does start. He'll go to Kansas or Iowa, Ohio, Illinois, like that type of deal.
So we'll dive into that, but also it's you hunt Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, and mostly Nantucket, right?
Correct.
But
yeah,
Martha's Vineyard.
My day job for me is Nantucket. I'll be there. We're recording this in the evening. In less than 8 hours, I'll be in Nantucket on the first fast ferry over there, and I'm there. My day job is in Nantucket, dealing with freight deliveries in Nantucket, and also Martha's Vineyard, and that is a whole. When we touch on that in a bit, that's going to be almost relatable to an out-of-state hunt.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you prepare for it, and what what to expect? There's a ton of deer. You hear about it, and we'll get into all that. How do the locals handle somebody coming over on the boat to hunt? Is it hostile? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I can give you an idea of the expense of what it would take to do something like that, and it certainly helps to have a place to stay that you don't have to pay for.
Oh yeah.
if you can swing that. Oh yeah, right? And it is not getting cheaper and stuff. That's something.
Well, maybe we'll just knock on your door and put a cot in your warehouse or whatever.
I've thought of that myself.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. Talk about your success hunting, and you shed hunt out there too. We'll talk about shed hunting out there, right?
Yep. They do a lot of shed hunting, and a big thing out there, like the Boy Scouts and stuff. The troops out there are big. They're big into that, and they have a lot of fun doing that. So that's fun for them as well.
And we'll talk your origin story, how you got into hunting,
Yep.
your first deer shooting in Arkansas, and then how it evolved from there. But let's start off with your turkey hunt.
Sure, yep. And that was a week ago today. It was opening day,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, on the 25th. And what it was, I was not going out to do a dedicated turkey hunt on opening day. It was a byproduct of me starting to set up my deer locations for next season, for October. And the piece of property in Plymouth, private land I was setting up for, I had already had my trees scoped out, and I've had a camera there for a little bit, a cell camera out there, and I have seen turkeys come, move through that area. And actually, my first turkey I took with my bow 4 years ago was from like the general same area, the same piece of private property. And as I'm getting my gear ready to go out and prep my tree at home, I said, I'm going to throw my bow in the truck. I'm going to throw it in, and I've got it, everything. I just got it from Jerry's. He's already tuned up, ready to rock and roll.
You go to Jerry's Bait and Tackle?
I go to Jerry's Bait and Tackle up in Milford, which is almost an hour and a half drive from where I live.
Yeah.
But when I moved back to Massachusetts in 2016, I was unfamiliar with bow shops or anything like that. I had a great guy in Palm Beach who set me up down there at Gator Guns and Archery in West Palm Beach. He was really phenomenal at helping me out when I first started. And a friend of mine recommended Jerry to go to, and I didn't think nothing of it. I took his advice, went, and Jerry's treated me very well since that. Whenever I've had an issue like a string jumping a cam, which can happen once in a while, give him a call. Yep, bring it up here, get up there, get it back going. I'm back out for the afternoon hunt.
Yep.
Even with the drive.
Yep.
And stuff. So just get the bow back. A few practice shots in the morning on my block target. Okay, cool. Everything's fine. Throw it in the truck. Bring my gear out to the tree.
And all your turkeys have been shot by a bow, right?
Yes. Yep. All of them have. And go out to the tree, lay my gear down, and just say, I'm going to take a few steps from this, over this direction by where my camera's set up to see if the turkey's around, just to see. A few steps up there over a little ridge, and there were 3 toms. And I said, okay, back out to the truck, get the bow, get my release, get hooked in, get the quiver on it, and walk back out. By the time I go walking back out to like the same area, they had started to move, and they started to move towards the deeper woods. This piece of private property abuts some public land behind it, and so as they were moving laterally across in front of me, approximately 22 yards or so, there was 3 of them, and I drew back and I said, okay, I'm going to wait for the last one. They're all about the same size. And I drew back, waited for the last one to fall into the peep, and let the arrow go, and knocked them out. And another successful bird, had to change my little tag, my little label that I have on my bow of what I've got, how many turkeys I've taken with the bow. I had to move it from 3 to 4.
4, perfect.
Yeah, and stuff. And so did that, and
Now, did you range find it?
no.
No.
I just kind of like guess how my bow is set up. I've got a single pin sight.
Yeah.
And I've got it set up where I can shoot anything that's within 30 yards without having to range find it. And I got that idea from a guy named Brian Broderick from Day 6 Archery. He's a custom arrow builder, broadhead builder.
Yep.
I heard on a podcast when I was going to New York a couple years ago. And I said, boy, that's a pretty good system, because I'm kind of tired of like dialing in and out, range finding, dialing in and out from my stand on my yardages. So I tried that system out so I can do anything from 10 yards to 30 yards with the same pin. And I took my block target, spray painted it all black, and just drew a 6x6 gray square on it on all 4 sides. And no matter where I shoot, from 10 yards to 30 yards,
It's in that gray square.
I can get into that square.
Just like that.
Exactly. Yep.
So at 30, it might just be at the bottom end of that square.
Yep. And at 10, 15, it's at the on the upper register of that square. And when you're deer hunting, if you get in that 6x6 block, and you would envision a deer like standing in a bathtub filled with blue ink, whatever, up to like its vitals, and then taking it out of there, and it's got that line around it where that vital is, and that's where you aim all the time, regardless of where you are where you're set up for yardage. If you're within that 30 yards, you just aim for that same spot every time. And the way that sight is set up, the arrow will take. You have to trust your equipment. You have to get into that mindset of, okay, he's closer, I got to aim up a little bit higher, whatever.
Yeah.
The arrow's already going to take care of that, because the arrow is going to fly higher because of how you have it set up with that, because you're closer. And when you're further away, and deer always load up, when they hear that, they'll always hear that string, and they'll always, boom, they'll load up, they'll go down. The deer always drop when they're like 30 yards. They always hear that string pop. That takes care of that also. The deer fall in to the arrow flight and take care of that. So you don't have to worry about deer jumping the string.
Yeah.
If you put your sight on the correct spot on the deer is going to fall into that arrow, and you're not going to go over its back. And that's a big issue on a longer distance shot. And when we're timber hunting like we do in Massachusetts, especially in suburban areas, very rarely do you have an opportunity to take a shot longer than 30 yards. There's just too much stuff in the way.
What if you have? Do you ever take a shot past 30 yards?
In the woods, never. There's just too many variables. There's too many things, and even no matter how good you clear your shooting lanes, if from point of view, I mean, there could be just this little here.
Yeah, that you can't see with your naked eye.
Exactly, something, whatever, something can just jump out and grab that arrow, and boom, it's gone somewhere else, and I personally, I just won't take a shot longer than 30 yards. There's too many things that can go wrong after 30 yards in the woods. I mean, you're hunting fields, crops, different. That's a different deal.
Now, if you go out west, though,
that's a different
deal. You have to change your sight up, or is it adjustable?
Well, it is, and it's an HHA sight, and.
But still, you don't have to shoot 78. Some guys will shoot long distances out there.
And what I'm going to do. When we do pull gain the amount of preference points we need for like an elk hunt that my friends and I are getting right now in the process of accumulating, I'm going to get a Western bow. I'm going to have Jerry. I've already talked to Jerry about probably go to like a Hoyt Ventum Pro 33, like a longer axis to axis 33. I'm at a 30 right now, and we'll set it up for. It'll be a whole different setup specifically for longer shots if I did have to go into a 40, 50, 60-yard environment, whatever, to take something like that. So I'm going to deal with that when the time comes. But for like right now, that's not for the areas that I can't have access to hunt, that's not a realistic shot for me. I would never see that shot for the areas that I have access to hunt right now. So I'm not even worried about it. I'll deal with that later.
Yeah, wait till you get the points and you actually pull the tag.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, this year I'm going to North Dakota on September 1st. I
heard that on the last podcast.
I'm kind of pumped about it. It just kind of all came together out of nowhere.
Yeah, it sounds like a great deal from what with the
awesome.
lodging and the area that you're going to be hunting and whatnot. That sounds real exciting.
Yep. Actually, next week's podcast, so before this one airs, me and Dan and Kevin talk about that whole trip and kind of planning it. Dan's been out there before, and he's the one who invited us into it. And there's it's going to be really fun. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to use my same bow but it's just whitetail, and
Now, is it a mixture of timber and ag that you're going to be hunting? Or?
No ag at all. Well,
really?
He's a cattle rancher, but he doesn't have standing crop. It's just it's all timber, but for whitetails, they're in the river bottom. So
sure. Yep.
The river's going through there, and we're going to be.
You're in the thick stuff down.
Plus,
down by
North Dakota is, I think it's the least forested state in the entire country.
Yeah.
Percentage of the state that has forest cover, it's the least, and it's all along the rivers. So it's going to be cool in a way because I've never hunted that. We have Massachusetts is one of the most forested states, and all the areas we hunt here we're covered in canopy pretty much. So it's going to be going out to high points and glassing, and you can see a long ways, but most of it you can just cancel out because they're not going to be bedded in that. They're going in and out of that river bottom. So you just glass the river bottoms and then try to figure out a way to set up on it.
And you're going to be bringing your saddle, from what I heard also?
I have to. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm forced to get into saddle hunting this year. I really wanted to. I just last summer I couldn't. I had so much personal stuff going on. I couldn't take the time to practice saddle hunting enough.
Yeah. I've been saddle hunting for 4 years right now, and I always, whenever that subject ever comes up with my hunting friends that have years and decades of experience. You tell them that I'm hunting out of a tree saddle now, and they're like, how do you get that horse saddle up into a tree or something? And it's like, no, it's not that. Similar to an arborist tree saddle type. You got to kind of explain it to some way and show them a picture on your phone of what it is.
Yeah, I wonder where the name saddle came from, because they don't call it that in the arborist industry, do they?
And they do. Actually today I was at a shop in South Attleboro called Shelter Tree, and they deal with arborist tools and implements and different things in tree saddles for the arborists to work out of. Yep, they do, and they do have. They use that nomenclature and stuff for that. And it was a place I used to deliver freight to when I was driving a truck years back, and so I always remembered it. And I said, well, and I get into saddle hunting, and I said, well, I need this. I'm going to go to Shelter Tree and see if they have it, and they're into the rope. I used to deliver spools of rope to them and different things for them. Super nice guys down there. I was there this morning, actually, and one of the things when I was with John Eberhart a couple weeks ago, he has a specific belt, a utility belt for prepping trees that he has made 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. He had somebody sew the D loops on it and different things. It's not a tree saddle, but it's like a utility belt, almost like a framer, carpenter framer would use for a tree, not tree, but for a work belt for the hammer and different things, pouches to hold nails and stuff, and different things. So he's got something, when he's setting up a tree, he has this specific belt for that can hold the heavier items, because I've tried it with my tree saddle that I've got, and it's not made for that. It's just too much weight hanging on when you're trying to attach stuff to it, and I just, all right, I'm going to go John's route. I went there earlier today, and I told him what I wanted to do. The guy, Bruce down there, happens to be a saddle hunter himself. I think he's hunting out of a new tribe saddle, and so he kind of knew what I was talking about, what I wanted to do, and those arborist tree saddles can go from $200 to $600, depending. I mean, I was surprised at the wider variety that they had in the range of prices and stuff. So I got something mid-level type of deal, and I think I'm gonna tweak it out a little bit to get it set up for different things that I need on it, and it'll get out in the woods probably next week.
Had you been saddle hunting before this, or no? This is your first foray into saddle hunting, or have you been saddle hunting since you've been bow hunting?
No, I first started out when I first started out bow hunting, and when I was in Arkansas, when I lived in Florida, I had a custom-made deer rifle made for me by my friend, a family member of the friend that has the duck club that I would hunt there.
Yep.
And when I was starting out, I was going to be a gun hunter, whatever. Cool, you watch the hunting shows, Outdoor Channel, and whatever, and these guys doing these long shots, stuff. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I was familiar with the M16 and long qualifications. You're shooting 500-yard shots with no sights on it.
Yeah.
For part of your qualification order and stuff. So I was familiar with taking long shots and getting the rifle set up and stuff, and I was comfortable with that. And then I just, for whatever reason, I just started gravitating towards some bow shows on the outdoor channels, and got into, and picked up on Tom Miranda with his adventure bow hunting series that he had. And then that kind of bit me, and I said, okay, I'm going to try out this archery thing. And so when I was in Florida, I went to an archery shop, didn't know what to get. I just kind of walked into it. They were a Hoyt dealership, and I just said, I want something that's going to last for me. When I'm getting into hunting, whatever archery hunting, I'd really never pulled a bow back in my life.
Yeah, you don't want to outgrow it. Get into something that's, and then...
Yep. So I wanted something good, whatever that was going. And then they said, okay, this is our top of the line right here. This is it right here. And I just, it's just like buying a car. Whatever.
Yeah.
They always say when you test drive a luxury car, you never not buy it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it was almost like the same thing with the bow and stuff. So I got that Hoyt carbon fiber Spider. It's 7 years old now. Like I just said, took the turkey last week. Have Jerry take care of it up here for me once a year after hunting season. I drop it off to him, and just say, give me a call a month or two from now, whatever. No rush. Get to it when you can, to make sure it's ready. And that's the plan for that. And so that got me into bow hunting. But when I started bow hunting in earnest up here when I moved back to Massachusetts in 2016, all my friends were into ladder stands. That was like the big thing. Climbers or ladder stands. That seemed to be like the soup du jour up here. So I started buying those like $80 ladder stands from Dick's, and I probably had 6 or 8 of them. And I would set them up on different properties. You can set them up. And I set them up all the same, so it was the same setup I would walk into every time.
Yeah.
The pull rope, and I had a little cup holder I built out of a Schedule 40 PVC pipe that I would bolt into it for a bottle of water and stuff. And I had the bow holders to hold the bow in my pack on the tree behind me in the same spot. So if it was dark, I didn't, could do it blindfolded. And so I started.
Sounds like a Marine to me.
Yeah. So started out that way. My very first year getting into bow hunting in Massachusetts was at a piece of private property that an uncle of mine had in Freetown.
Yep.
And I saw 3 deer the whole first year, and they were all on the same day. And I'm talking like multiple days of like 10-hour sits.
All does?
And there were one was a button buck, and one was a doe and a fawn.
Yeah, doe and twins.
Yeah, out in the distance. And so I had a lot to learn. Whatever. I mean, I didn't know how to set up over sign. I didn't really know how to scout. I'm just going, oh, this looks like a good spot, whatever type of thing. Or here's like some scat.
Yeah.
This is good. And I think this is a trail. It looks like they might be walking on. There's some prints.
Yeah.
Whatever and stuff. So you kind of set up and you wonder why you're not seeing deer.
Because you walk through the bedding to get in there or whatever.
Exactly. And you just don't know, walking out there in pitch black and hearing the fisher cats off in the distance. Sounds like you're in Transylvania with them screaming and stuff, and you're walking into this pitch black, but you get it tacked out going in there, and you hope that you make it and stuff. So that was my first foray into it. I don't come from a hunting family. I come from a deep sea fishing family. Because I grew up on the water in Scituate when I was a young kid, and my dad at one point had a 55-foot ocean yacht sport fish, and he was always in that monster shark tournament on the Vineyard every year, and he had ESPN on his boat, and he had celebrities, Bobby Orr and Craig Stadler and John Havlicek and people like that on his boat.
It's so funny how like those worlds don't cross over all the time.
Yeah,
you would think that they do, but ocean fishing and hunting.
Yep, it's 2 totally different spectrums, it seemed like that. So I didn't. So I was kind of on my own when I decided to jump, to do the deep dive into hunting, to go down the hunting rabbit hole like we all do. If you're into hunting, you can't. It's tough to come out of hunting, whatever and stuff. So I was getting. So the following year, I finally took a buck, and a decent buck behind, and it was on property behind our main warehouse in Wareham for the trucking company I work for, and. So that was great. And I called my friends. They came down, helped me. And I'd never, at that point, even the deer I had taken in Arkansas, we just brought them right to a processor, and you didn't have to field dress them. They took care of all that for you there. But, up here in Mass, the processor I have, you have to have it field dressed before you bring it to them.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a whole new deal for me. So I had a veteran hunting buddy of mine walk me through it. We're in there, when it's a 45-minute deal. I'm sweating like crazy. It's November 6th, I think, or whatever. And but I got it done and stuff. So that was certainly satisfying to do that. Then the next field dress I think was like 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the one after that's like 8 minutes or something. So.
And then it keeps shrinking.
Yeah, it goes like that. So from the tree stand deal, and I was seeing deer, and I was seeing deer often. But, when they come in, and I was seeing deer close, and then you've got to freeze, and you've got to be a statue, because especially in does, matriarch does, anything, and they're with a bunch of other deer, they're real fidgety, they're on alert 24/7 out there. And I was getting frustrated that I was seeing deer, but I couldn't get a shot off on them, because they were just so tight to me. And when they were in an area that would obviously present an ethical shot to take, I couldn't move. I couldn't reach for my bow, or if I had my bow, I couldn't swing it and draw back. They would pick up on the movement. I was too low to the ground. The stands are like 14 feet or whatever, approximately, to your feet. And that was frustrating me like crazy. And I said, there's got to be something different to do. I got to figure out a different way to do it. Well, then I was watching YouTube one night, and this guy's picture just kept on coming up for like 2 or 3 weeks on it. and it was John Eberhart, and he was on like the Exodus trail camera
Yeah,
podcast video that one there. And it's got about 500,000 views
Whitetail
right
Cribs?
now. Not Whitetail Cribs. It was before Whitetail Cribs. He has another video where they filmed him in the basement of his house.
Yeah, okay.
And they're interviewing him in like his
I'm sure you
recliner.
saw the one probably where they interview him about his van setup too. Right?
Oh, sure, yep.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
and I've been in the van.
Made me pretty close to buying a van.
He got a new
I was
van.
like-
He traded that one in. He's got a new one this year, so he's in the process of outfitting the new van right now,
cool.
as he had the old one.
Yep.
Stuff. So and I kept on seeing John's picture up there. Didn't know who he was. Never heard of him before. And I said, all right, this is another Midwest guy, something that's going to talk about hunting, whatever, that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm seeing at all. But, I'll give it a shot. So I clicked it on, and all of a sudden he's like talking high pressure public land and private land and whatnot. And I was just like, oh, finally, after so many years, I finally found a guy who's dealing with the same conditions I am for the most part, to some degree. I go, thank goodness. And I took the deep dive into saddle hunting after that. Unbeknownst to me, when I first started watching him, I had read one of his books, and they talked about the saddle hunting in it. And I knew what saddles were for tree arborist saddles and stuff. And so I knew it had to be something along those lines there. But then I watched that video for weeks, over and over and over, and just tried to absorb everything I could out of it. And then I made the first dive into saddle hunting. I went on Tethered's website, got like the Mantis.
When was this? Last year?
No, this is when the Mantis first came out.
Okay.
So that's almost 4 years ago.
All right.
When that first came out. So I hunted out of the Mantis the first year, and one of the mistakes I made getting into a saddle was not having like a full off season to practice out of a saddle.
Yeah.
Because it isn't like you're going up your ladder stand.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different ball game, and you can get frustrated real easily.
Yeah.
Without proper instruction, and just the whole nuance of ring of steps, platform, 2-panel saddle, single panel saddle, prusik knots to ropeman ascenders or whatever. I mean, all kinds of different things, web bridges to amp steel bridges, and you name it. So the first year had its challenges in it for me and stuff, but I felt fairly comfortable in it, and I knew that this was going to be probably the way to go for me.
You didn't practice at all, or did you practice a few weeks before the season?
I kind of bought it like into the season, probably like a month into the season.
Yeah.
Probably, and I said, okay, and I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hunt off the back of my ladder stands, meaning I'm going to use my ladder stands as my ascension into the tree. And and I had the Predator platform. I was going to set the platform up behind the ladder stand, the back side of the tree, and tether off to that, and that's how I'll get started. And it did help with the cover having the tree in front of you and not getting picked by the deer as much, and that did help, and I noticed that difference right away. But as I practiced more out of it at home, got comfortable with different shot angles and stuff, and then the next couple of years after that, I was really comfortable in the tree. I mean, it was not an issue with any shots whatsoever. Then when John came out with his own signature saddle through Tethered, the 2-panel one, I bought that, and I first used that on a Sika deer hunt down in Maryland. I went down there and tried, and I'm emailing him from the tree saying, okay, I just bought your saddle. It just came in like 2 days ago or something, and it was the first week it came out. So he's emailing me back like 5 minutes later while I'm in the tree and stuff, going over the different things with the saddle. The 2-panel is a little different. I'll never hunt out of a single panel saddle again. The 2-panel, now that I have the experience I do have in it, it's really great. I hate the word game changer getting overused and overplayed too much. It does changes thing up quite a bit for hunting, and but then to realize I still had an awful lot to learn from him.
Yeah, so let's talk about that whole experience. How many tickets were sold to this thing?
Okay, so what he has, it's called the John Eberhart Whitetail Workshop.
Yep.
He holds 4 of those a year, and they're between like say mid-March to the end of April, and he holds them about every other week during that time. and he limits them to 15 people a workshop, so it's not not a lot. And I came to realize with the saddle hunting, as comfortable as I was in it, I was still missing some things in it. And I had taken it as far as I could take it myself from watching YouTube videos. I mean, there's 1,000 YouTube videos. Everybody's got a different way to climb a tree, different way to set up your saddle. I mean, it's like when I was playing golf years ago, every pro that you would take a lesson from is a different way of teaching you how to swing a golf club.
Yep.
So you've got to pick one way, one pro, one guy, one system, and just stick with it. And just kind of like, massage it to you and whatever you're comfortable with. So I said, okay, this is my guy. This is like, say, my mentor, whatever. I'm going to do what he says, and I'm going to make it work. He's got the cred, whatever. And now he's up to 53 book bucks out of his
that's crazy.
out of his saddle. He got 3 last year. At 71 years old now. And stuff, and he got 3 more bucks that made over 125 inches last year out of the saddle. So it took me 3 years to get to his workshop, because the first year, COVID, they closed all the hotels down out in Michigan. They pretty much locked the state down. You couldn't go. The second year, my work said, okay, if you go and you come back, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. You're not going to be able to come back to work. So I had to keep emailing them back. Okay, I can't go again this year. So finally, I got out there this year, my 3rd year waiting.
Yep.
And when I got out there, I drove out 15 and a half hours out there to where, in the first day is a farm that he has permission to hunt on, private property. And the second day is classroom instruction. And it happened to be at the, in like a banquet room, a meeting room at the hotel I was staying at in Clare, Michigan. So that worked out great out there. So the first day, I get there, pull in, people are starting to pull into the farm in the parking area, and they see the Massachusetts license plate.
I was going to say, are you the furthest one?
Oh, yeah. I was. And everyone's, are you kidding me? You drove from Massachusetts? And the majority of the folks are from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri type of deal. So then when he finally pulled in his van, the mommy wagon of death that you were just talking about, he saw me and he saw the license plate, and he goes, "You've got to be Bill from Plymouth." And I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "It took you 3 years to get out here. I'm glad you finally made it." I go, "So am I."
Yeah.
It took long.
3-year drive.
Yeah, just about. But so the first day he takes you, and he has a video channel out now on YouTube, Eberhart Outdoors, and a lot of the videos from that are from this farm. Where he's explaining different hunting scenarios, different setups. So they were familiar to me. I would remark while we were out at the different locations. I go, "Is this the one you did the video on? Whatever type of thing." Goes, "Yep, that was right here," and stuff. So that was kind of cool seeing that stuff, being out in the field. So we were out there for like 4 hours. Then we went up to like a bar restaurant type of thing up the road and had lunch for like an hour and a half. And I just said, it took me 15 and a half hours out here. It's going to be another 15 and a half going back. I'm going to be within arm's length of this guy. I'm getting my money's worth out of this one. So I was within arm's length of him all weekend, whatever. And he and I sat next to each other at the table, like banquet tables that we're having lunch at, going over different things. And he wanted to see like my setup. He goes, "You got pictures of what you're using?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I had showed him my pack setup and stuff.
Oh, so you guys didn't bring your own saddles?
I did. Yep, I did bring my own.
But that
saddle.
wasn't kind of part. That's not part of it for everybody to bring their own.
You don't have to. Not everybody who goes is a saddle hunter.
Okay.
Actually, when you go out there, because when we went back out into the woods after lunch, we went to different locations and stuff, and where he would explain different setups and scenarios, and then at the end of that first day, the last couple of hours, he has different setups at the farm. He's got the Predator platform, then he's got a ring of steps, and he's got the ring of steps with the Predator platform on another tree.
Yep.
And they're only like a few feet off the ground type of thing. And then he shows you how he hooks in and different stuff. And if you brought your own saddle, he encourages you to bring it. So he can see how you set it up and how you put it on, and he can kind of critique you. Okay, maybe you want to do this, maybe you want to do that, type of deal. So
do you bring your bows?
No, I didn't. I didn't bring my bow. Nobody did actually. He didn't even have a bow there. But when we get into that part of I guess, the class of that first day, the last couple of hours being out there. He wanted to, because I told him I made some modifications to his saddle, which he has made modifications to his saddle. It's not the one that you buy that comes in the box from Tethered. He's made some modifications himself, and I made some to it. Stuff. So he made one specific one that I haven't done yet. When I first saw him do on his saddle, I said, all right, what do you got going on here?
Yeah.
Whatever. And he showed it to me, and I said, that's simple or whatever. Okay, I'm going to be on that before next season. But one of the things I did with that is I put an Amsteel bridge on his saddle, where right now he's got a 1-inch web on it. And that's what he likes, he's comfortable with. I was never, I used that for the first season hunting out of that saddle, and it was okay. But how I have, how I'm set up off of my my bridge and my tether coming down, I have a Peltz carabiner, whatever, however everybody pronounces it different, carabiner.
Carabiner?
Yeah, with a pulley on it.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody use it in a YouTube video, like a crossbow hunter out of New Jersey, and I had to keep freeze framing it. I say, what is this thing here? And I kept looking at it, and he only showed it for a brief second. And I said, I got to get me one of those things. Yeah. So I got one, and I put an Amsteel bridge on his saddle, and this thing, he had never seen anything like that. When I showed him and his son out there, they go, what is this? We want to see you set up in the saddle, whatever, how you got it set up. This is pretty interesting. So I showed him, and even he was like, oh, that's pretty, interesting to see that. And stuff. So he's all about, like, even if it's his own gear, if you're customizing it to fit you, that's fine. Yeah. And stuff. Because, he's doing the same thing to his own gear that, that's got his name on it that he's selling.
And you're constantly innovating. So, and innovation can't really go into a big production that, a big company is like that very quickly.
Yeah. So. And one of the things with the saddle hunting world right now, I guess, Tether alone last year, just in online sales, did $30 million. Yeah. Just on their online catalog, without getting into retail at all, which, when you think of it, is just insane. Oh, yeah. Because just saddle hunting itself in the vast hunting community it's
a very small part.
Probably 1%.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, if it's even that, especially around here. The biggest saddle hunting populations are, say, like Michigan, Ohio, Western PA, like that type of deal.
You can definitely tell that it's growing, though, and it's spreading, and it's one of those things that it spreads by word of mouth. And you don't really even need to do crazy marketing if you're those companies, because it does spread. Just going to permeate through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I show my friends, when I have the time, if we're getting together at somebody's house for a cookout, and I say, oh, bring your saddle, I want to see how this thing works. Whatever. I'm tired of hearing about it. Yeah. So I bring the stuff, set up like a stick, whatever, and do it. And I have like one of the things I really like, one of the little things I got was a thing called a Versa Ada, like a Nada Sueda type of thing, but it's a little different, to help me get up a little bit higher on each stick, and they're just like, where'd that come from? Whatever. How you hear? How do you find all this stuff? Are you kidding me?
There's all kinds of small companies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 3D printing, Genesis 3D. I've got my bow holders from Genesis 3D printing, just for like the bow holder. It's light. It weighs almost nothing. Hooks into the what I have going there that holds all my gear in the tree.
What do you use for sticks?
For sticks right now, I've got a couple different ways. I do have a set of the steps from Wild Edge from Andrew over there. I haven't brought them into the field yet. All because you've got to get proficient at that knot.
Yeah, I've got a set too, and that's what I tried one time last year when I only got up into the saddle once out in my backyard, and I've got them. I'm gonna put some effort into trying those too, and just having that in the. But I'm also gonna get some other sticks,
Yeah, and what I carry for sticks, I've been for a few years now. I've been hunting out of the Out on a Limb Shikaz sticks.
Yeah, those were awesome. I saw those down at Andrews when he had a saddle meetup last spring.
They're great. They bite into the tree great. Really, I mean, you got to be crazy. I mean, not crazy. You got to be careful when you're setting them up in the tree, because they are really scary sharp on it when you're spinning them and tightening them in and whatnot. I use an Amsteel daisy chain to go around the tree to hook into the button. Weighs almost nothing. Like I said, I have the Versa Ada that I use. I saw that on a YouTube video. It looked cool, $40, $50, whatever it was. I've been using it for a few years. It's great. When I get up to my climbing height, to my platform, I just take it off my boot and it goes right in my pocket or in the pack, whatever. And it's really like out of sight, out of mind type of deal. You don't have to worry about it anymore. That's my and I do have a set of the Skeletors, also from Tethered. Whereas out on a limb sticks, you're looking at over $100 a stick. The Skeletors, you're looking at like in that $50 range ish, more of like a mid-level stick. So I got those just to try them out. I hunted out of them a couple of times last year, and I like them, and they're good. Not quite as light as the Shikars, but close, and they're a sturdy stick.
I forget what it was, but Dan Jaros, who invited us to North Dakota, he's got these really, really light tethered sticks. They're extremely
Tethered one.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, it's like you can barely feel it.
John has them. John Eberhart is using them on public land now. They're scary light. They almost feel like air when you're holding them. And he had some custom-made ADAs made for them. He has like a 2-step ADA at the first stick. To
same thing Dan does. Maybe
and then he does a 1-step after.
Maybe he followed a video or something that John did.
Yep. So he had because when we were out there for that workshop, he's got his own line of ScentLock hunting gear coming out. This summer.
I know he's big into ScentLock.
Yep. So he's got that. So I think they were filming something on the Monday after we were there out at that farm. I'm not sure if it was for ScentLock or something else, but he had a setup already there with the 1-sticks up in that stuff. So that's my ascension at the top of the tree. I've got my Predator platform, which I'm happy with. I mean, it bites in well. I got like the regular strap with that cam buckle, the friction buckle that they use there. I've got no complaints over that. I'm starting to get into a ring of steps to go along with that after being out at John's workshop and seeing his mobility around the tree. That helps him out doing that. And so in about the last week or so, he had a ring of steps come in from a company called Tree Hopper. And they came in the night before our second day at the workshop. So we had them there for the second day of classroom instruction at the workshop. And so I got to put my hands on them, really lightweight. They're they're not steel like
once Bill puts his hands on it, he's gonna buy it.
Yeah, it's just like anybody else. When you're into the hunting game for more than a week, you got to find the lightest, the latest, the greatest. And so especially when you make a lateral change like I did from ladder stand into saddle hunting and stuff. I think I'm pretty close to where I need to be. Of course, you can say that now. You have me back in a year, and I'll have another setup or something. Who knows? Whatever. But getting back to John's workshop, the first day is like infield instruction. Second day is classroom instruction. He's got all of his gear that he brings out into the field with him there, all his tree prep gear that he preps his sights up with. He's got like a display board that you would see at a trade show set up with, 50, 60 pictures of different bucks that he has taken over the years.
Did you guys not go to his trophy room, or I was wondering if you
not at his house, but at Jay's Sporting Goods is right down the street from the hotel. That's where you would typically have the second day of the workshop in. They have a meeting room there, but we couldn't because they had booked something else for that.
Is that where most of his mounts are?
That's what, all but like 6 of them.
Okay.
5 or 6, the biggest ones he keeps at his home. And I took pictures of them at Jay's when I got there. When you go to the workshop, part of one of the things that you get, because John used to work at Jay's, I believe, some time ago, and you get like a 15% off coupon. So you can go to Jay's and buy any gear that you want, and they'll give you 15% off at the register because you're part of the Whitetail workshop with John. And they have your name there. When you walk in, you say, I'm part of the John Eberhart crew this week. And
That's
they
cool.
Look it up, and boom, okay, here you go. You can buy whatever you want in the store, whatever. You can spend $100, you can spend $1,000 or whatever. And it's kind of like a mini Bass Pro Shop, or if anybody is familiar with Max Prairie Wings down in Stuttgart, Arkansas, as that is to waterfowl hunting, it's about the same size as that. stuff.
Cool.
And they've got everything there. And all his mounts, and I took pictures of them, and they're just all over. Pretty much almost all the deer mounts in that store are his, for the most part.
Now, did you guys do dinner and stuff each night too, or
No, we just did lunch the first day.
Yep.
With him.
What time's the workshop over that first day?
The first day, he's a trooper. He stays as long as the last guy wants to stay. And we were there till like 5:30, I think.
Yeah.
Till it was just starting to turn light, and it wasn't warm by that time. I mean, it was getting pretty chilly, but him and his son Joe and his grandson were there, and he's willing to take whatever pictures you want, ask whatever questions you want. He will stay there till every question's answered and whatnot. You have his time. You have his uninterrupted time. You're paying for it for that weekend, and that's and he gives it to you. And even the second day, during the sit down. Meeting room type of deal. You can ask whatever questions you want. You can stop him if he's in the middle of something. Hey, I have a question about something, and okay, what is it? And then you kind of go through it. He's just a wealth of information. Super nice guy. It was worth every mile I drove for it and back. I mean, for me as a hunter, it was a life-changing deal for me going forward, because I look at everything now, just that, those 2 days out there, now I look at everything so much different in the woods. One of the big things those successful guys have that he will tell you is their attention to detail and being meticulous about the smallest thing. Whether it's tree setup or gear setup or whatnot, they are really, everything's labeled. Everything has a place, whether it's in your vehicle or in your garage at home or in your storage room at home or whatever. Everything has its place in line somewhere, and nothing gets mixed up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's just tossed into whatever, and you're fishing through anything. Those guys have everything has where it's supposed to be, when it's there when you need it. And
it's not my strong point.
Yeah, they take that guesswork out. That's one of the things he does emphasize. If you want to go to that next level,
and he is meticulous.
You
can just tell from the videos.
Yeah, from the scent control to the setting up the locations that he has there, and he gets up in a tree. I mean, he gets 30, 35 feet up in these trees. I took a video of him on my phone ascending a tree, and this thing was leaning at it was a hard leaner, and like going up a roof of a house type of leaner, and he was up probably 30 feet in that one there. He's got his spikes into that tree because it's on private land, and he was up that in like no time. And he got up there and showed how he ties into that leaning tree as opposed to a straight tree.
That's actually a tree that he hunts out of?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So does he get into showing you why he picked certain spots too?
Yep. He picks it up. His locations typically what they have out in Michigan, they have an awful lot of apple tree crop in different farms, different areas. Apples are big out there. He's big on hunting fruit trees, like apple trees, pear trees. That's always a destination location.
Yeah.
He's big into destination locations, scrapes, rub lines type of deal. He's big into setting up on those, and he's not as much big into randomly picking out a place that there's not a reason for him not to be there. He has a reason to be at this place for a specific time.
For sure.
Whether it's pre-rut type of deal, crop fields, in the woods and stuff. We were walking to one location he had out in the woods, and I could see from a distance, I'm seeing a scrape. I can see the licking branch from here, John. We were 50, 60 yards from it. I could see the branch broken down at a 90 going straight down. I go, is that birch tree, a beech tree up there, whatever, that where we're going? He goes, yep. He goes, that's exactly where we're going. Wait till you see how high I'm set up next to it. And he wasn't kidding. He was he measured it. It was a little over 30 feet to his feet set up like that way there. So that's one of the things I'm incorporating now into my new setups I'm working on now. And even at some of the existing properties I have.
Getting higher?
Getting higher.
Yeah.
Even in the saddle, even though I was still, I'm still at that 15-foot, 18-foot height and stuff. And I'm just all right, and I've got to take it up.
Well, that's the nice thing about saddles, right, is that you're it's safe. So
Yep.
it's like it's the safest you can be. You're
Yeah.
tethered to that tree. So
Yeah, you're always in contact with the tree. You've got to learn to trust the equipment. That's one of the things that takes a little bit getting used to. But after your first 2 times in the saddle, you lean back and you're in it. You go, man, I can't believe I'm just like leaning back in this thing. And it's like a diaper or something. I'm just this line's tying me or whatever and holding it. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But now I can swing, do this, that, whatever. It's like second nature to me now. My average sit time last year was probably 6 hours, 7 hours a sit in a saddle. For the majority of my sits. Stuff, and I had no comfort issues. Whatever they do, make these different what they call like recliners and stuff, a different like a back pad type of thing that you can kind of tie in, put on your upper back to take some of the pressure off for a long sit, take some of the pressure off different body parts, your hips and whatnot. That helps with the comfort level in the saddle and stuff. So that's one thing to learn from. But it's just like anything else, you get better the more time you put into it.
That's what I'm kind of excited about North Dakota for many reasons, but it's going to be a crash course too. I'll be prepared going out there, but then I'll get to put it into, actually hunting out of it.
Yep.
Be in the game hunting out of it and doing that for 7 or 8 straight days. And by the time I come back here, it's still only going to be September 10th, and I'll have a crash course for northeastern hunting now with it.
Yeah, that's going to help you quite a bit. Because I tell like my friends who go, I want to get into this saddle hunting thing, and I went to that Great American Outdoor Show in PA.
Oh yeah,
out there in February, and we were at Andrew's booth at Wild Edge. Nicest guy at the show. Well, we were there for 2 days, my buddy Rick and I, and we went to his booth both days just to talk with him. We probably talked with him for probably close to an hour each day, whatever. He was the most personable guy out of the thousands and thousands of people, booths.
He's awesome.
Different stuff that was there. Him and his crew there were just really fabulous to deal with.
As of right now, they're the main saddle brand coming to Huntstock.
Okay.
So
and certainly he's got the results to prove it out of how he hunts and how he hunts. You see it on his videos that he has out there. He told me he was going to get into more video content out there and then over the next season.
Yep.
And stuff. And my buddy Rick actually bought a Berserker saddle there.
That's what I have. I have that here in the step ladder.
Yep. And what I always like tell my friends who want to get into it is that if you're going to get into it, practice it for an full off season before you bring it out in the field.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can find yourself getting really frustrated with it, like kind of I did my first year. I kind of jumped into it out in the field, and I shouldn't have. I should have just backed off a year. But no, it's all right.
See, that's why I didn't hunt with it last year, because I didn't want to have that.
And I'm telling you, that's the right move.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can just do it right in your backyard. You only have to be a foot off the ground. You don't have to go up 20 feet in the tree to start. You start out, set your platform, your ring of steps, whatever it is, foot off the ground. Practice how you're going to tether into the tree, whether you're going to use a girth hitch in your tether, whether you're going to use ropeman ascenders or a prusik knot.
Yep.
And whatever saddle brand and type that you're going to use. And then once you're comfortable being in that saddle environment, on the tree and are comfortable and feel safe and secure in it, then grab your bow, put your target out, 10, 15 yards out, and put a nail in the tree or something, whatever, hook, put a quiver with like some arrows, field tip arrows in there, and start taking your first shots, and start doing that at different angles and move the target around and start taking different shots around the house.
I'm buying targets for the 3D course that we're going to be building at Huntstock. Mm-hmm. So I've got 4 3D targets coming here now, and throughout the summer I'm just going to keep accumulating them.
Sure.
I'll set them up back there in different, I'll have a little course and my back acre and a half here that I can shoot at a few times, and I'll definitely it'll come in handy with practicing the saddle and different angles and stuff. So I'm pumped for it.
Absolutely.
Let's switch gears to hunting Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and kind of what goes into that. But before we get into it, I just want to remind people the volunteer program at Huntstock. We're looking for 20 volunteers per day. Saturday is the most important. It's going to be the busiest day. But we're looking at probably 20 volunteers Friday, 20 Saturday, and 20 Sunday as ideal. And if you want to volunteer, send me an email, huntsuburbia@gmail.com, and you get, as part of the volunteer package, the other 2 days that you don't volunteer. So you got to do one full day, about 8 hours as a volunteer, and you'll get the other 2 days for free. You'll get a free volunteer shirt. You're going to get to shoot the 3D archery course for free, an extra ticket to the door prizes, plus we're going to hopefully have a separate volunteer-only door prize. So, you'll have a 1 in 20 chance every time we draw a prize for volunteers. So we've had a couple people email from that first announcement last week, which is great. A couple guys today. But we still need plenty of volunteers. So if you want to come to Huntstock for free, reach out. We'll make that happen. Secondly, so Friday and Sunday are likely going to be less busy at Huntstock. So those days also are going to be easier for you to win door prizes. So if you haven't bought, a 3-day pass, consider it for Friday and Sunday. I mean, if it's less people there, you're going to have a way better chance at winning door prizes. Plus, it's the same, we're going to have great lineup of seminars and all the same stuff going on both those days. So if you can do the 3-day pass, I would encourage it. And let's get into how is it to hunt these islands?
All right.
And
the islands, my background with the islands, I lived on Martha's Vineyard for approximately a year, way back in like 06, 07.
Yep.
At that time, I was making my living for about 10 years in the music industry. So I was always like on tour, on the road, tour buses. Sometimes it'd be go for a weekend, and sometimes you'd be out for 3 months, well, in different time schedules like that. And so when I was living on the vineyard, a lot of times I was coming off island, going to the Providence airport, really, and flying out there to wherever the shows may have been around the country for the artists I work for. And so I was familiar with like the deer and really it's quite a large turkey population on Martha's Vineyard as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Out there. And now but I wasn't hunting at that time. I was just familiar with what was kind of like going on for wildlife.
Yeah.
I was around it all the time. I've been working on Nantucket pretty much full-time for probably about the last 3 years. The trucking company I work for was a family-owned trucking company. My uncle started it back in 1981. He just retired last year, so he's kind of removed from it now, enjoying the retired life. And so they have offices, terminals on the Vineyard and Nantucket.
Yep.
And their main terminal is in Wareham. So being on Nantucket, and I would be hearing stories about, the deer population that's out of control, and there's no natural predation on Nantucket. There are no coyotes.
No coyotes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So the only way these deer get taken out is they're either getting hit by a car or they're getting taken out by a hunter, or unless they get sick maybe or something. Around here, Massachusetts, the islands, maybe one deer out of 1,000's dying of old age, if it ever gets to that. So on Nantucket, my terminal manager, years back, he was a big shotgun guy, deer hunting, and he would always be telling me stories about, they're big into deer drives out there, really big into deer drives out there. Nantucket has a lot of, quite a bit of public land on it, as small as the island is. Just in conservation land itself they have about 9,000 acres. Land bank property, which is like a different type of conservator, they've got over 3,000 acres. And how the land bank acquires this property, and they do the same thing on the vineyard. Every house sale that happens on these islands, and we'll take Nantucket as an example here, they get 2% of the house sale. So every time you close in your closing settlement sheet, you're going to see 2% of the sales price right off the top go to the land bank. stuff. So
And they buy up more land with it.
and they buy more land up.
And those $25 million houses there,
Oh, yeah,
2% adds up.
Yep, and they're and just in 1 year they'll accumulate millions of dollars.
Who are they buying the land off of?
Well, sometimes they're buying it off like people that are willing to sell it. Some people want to sell it to the land bank.
Yeah. If they got like 20 acres or something,
Sure,
they pick it up here and there.
Yep, they're doing that. Sometimes they're buying a big spread that might come up, a 20 or 30 acre spread that may come up on the interior of the island somewhere, even with a house on it.
Yeah.
And if the house has no historical value, they'll take it down because they've got the funds to do it.
And all of this land's open to public hunting?
Yep, the majority of it is. There are a few sanctuary spots on there. If anyone's familiar with Nantucket off of Milestone Road, there's a spot where you cannot hunt. That's conservation land. But for the most part, the land bank and the conservation property, thousands of acres are available to hunt to the public.
Yep.
The private property, obviously, it's tough to get permission unless you know somebody on Nantucket.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not most of on Nantucket, the majority of the population and the business, the commerce is within, half a mile of the wharf downtown. Whenever you go to the Nantucket, you go to Steamship Wharf or where the High Line comes in, the fast ferry, all the activities there. And then it branches out, towards the airport, Sconset, where Bill Belichick lives, up that way there. And then you have Nantucket area, which is like the west part of the east part of the island, out that way there, where it's more spread out. And there are some big estates out there. There's some people have, 20, 30, big for us, not if you're in the Midwest, but but if you're listening to this in another part of the country, it might not be
20, 30 acres.
You might not even that ain't worth me even showing up on. But it's big. It's big to us because even an interior acre lot on Nantucket right now is going for about $1 million an acre.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it's extremely high priced area. Private land opportunities are few and far to come by unless you really know somebody or are tight with them. There's a lot of public land available. That being said, you have to look at, we'll take Nantucket for an example, and I'll kind of walk through a little bit of my deer hunt I had last year, and it was mid-October, and I took a buck there on conservation property on Nantucket. You got to look at Nantucket, the vineyard, you look at it as like an out-of-state hunt. You've got to physically come off the mainland to get there, whether you're going to fly or you're going to take the ferry. Now, to take the ferry, if you're going to go to Nantucket with you saw the pickup truck I've got. Well, it's nothing crazy. It's a GMC 2500. They're a dime a dozen everywhere. They're nothing crazy. Just to round trip that truck to Nantucket on the boat, you're talking approximately $600.
Wow.
Just to get your vehicle there and bring it back.
Wow.
So there's $600 right out of the gate. And some people look at that and say, okay, that's the price of an out-of-state hunting license if I went to Colorado or whatever out there. But there's no elk on Nantucket. So you're going to hunt whitetail deer.
They got Enterprise on Nantucket?
They do have rental cars out, like Jeeps. Jeeps the big thing.
Yeah.
Both islands are big Jeep rentals out there. Out the airport, they have a big rental area out there and stuff. So you can bring your gear and you can walk on the ferry, and you can get like a rental vehicle, and that can be done and stuff. That's not out of the realm of doing anything. The second deal is, after getting yourself to the island, is where you're going to stay.
Yeah.
And now hotel rooms on the island, even in October, the tourist season, when I was growing up here in the 60s and 70s, it was always tourist season was always like Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then there was like somebody hit a light switch and it was done. Yeah. Before and after that. Except not so much anymore in Nantucket. I mean, right now you have Daffodil Festival that we just came out of a couple weeks ago, and the ferries are booked up like a week solid ahead of time to get over there. When the ferry reservations were booked on Nantucket, when the steamship opened them up for vehicles, the first, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, approximately, they by noontime, the day that they opened up the ferry reservations, they had sold out over 90% of them for the rest of the year. Wow! To go or the season, we were talking like October 15th and stuff. For then, bam, done, already gone. So finding a reso can be difficult.
For just the truck part, right?
For just your vehicle.
Okay,
whatever.
yeah,
If you're going weekends, you're on standby. You can almost forget about weekends on Nantucket.
Yeah.
Or the vineyard going over to either island right now. If you think you're just going to drive up and bring your vehicle over, forget about it. It's not gonna. You're going to be on standby. You might be on standby for a day.
Yeah.
Whatever, getting over there. During the week, midweek, it's easier to get on. So accommodation-wise, going to that point, they're getting, even after Labor Day, they're getting $800,000 a night for a hotel room over there. That can be prohibitive, obviously.
$8,000 a night?
No, $800 to $1,000 a night over there. That's another mountain to climb over there. So if you can, you may have better like an Airbnb type of thing where you can rent somebody's house. It's a little bit out of season, but the Nantucket season just keeps going longer on both ends.
What about November?
November is easier.
Before gun season starts.
Before that would be easier. Your best bet is probably, for accommodation-wise, is trying to rent a house for a few days. Because even during the weekends, those houses will be taken up. It's getting that populated over there for tourist-wise and stuff. Because they have the Christmas stroll in December, and that place is jam-packed over there. It's really... I kind of call it the city of Nantucket now because of the tourist volume that goes over there. It's and even in my trucking company, we're sending back and forth 11 to 14 trailers a day at round tripping and stuff. That's how the volume of freight that we just do over there. So you have to look at going to the islands to hunt the islands. It's going to be an expense. It's not going to be free. It's not going to be free.
Yeah.
There is going to be an expense in doing that if you don't have accommodations. Is a big thing. Everybody's going to have to somehow pay to get your vehicle over if you want to go.
I imagine that's what keeps most people from doing that, because if they live here, they're like, well, I might as well just go out west or go to Iowa or do an out-of-state trip,
Yeah, and there's not really a lot of campsite setup areas over there, really, where you can bring your tag along or if you're going to truck camp type of thing, which is getting popular with some out-of-state hunting right now with a cap on it. I don't really see a lot of that over there at all. So you've really got to find do that deal where you've got to kind of find accommodations over there. Now, getting into the hunting areas themselves, the access isn't too much of an issue. They do have the trailheads for walking trails, and then you can kind of come off of that. And there is, like I said, there are thousands of acres that you have access to hunt. One of the things I would recommend if you're going there to bow hunt, you want to go over there, and even I did it. I went over there on one of my day offs, a day off that I had, or a couple of days off. I went over there and scouted. And my terminal manager, like I mentioned earlier, abuts to a few thousand acres of conservation property. So, I would just go and I park at his house, and I would just go out back. And one of the things you will notice when you get into these areas, it's really thick. I mean, these areas, the scrub oak, it's incredibly dense. I mean, some areas you'd have a tough time with a pack of beagles chasing a rabbit. Whatever. I mean, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't sure what I was walking into when I started my scouting over there. I got on my hands and knees a few times just to get down to see, and you could see the trails through the brush, but you don't notice them when you're standing up because the cover's so thick, and that's what the deer love. They love that security cover, and you're not walking through it standing up. It's impossible. I mean, even if you were being chased by the cops, whatever, you're getting stopped by it. Whatever, you just get sliced to ribbons and whatnot. It is densely packed. So to find my area that I hunted in out there in the conservation land, I was on my hands and knees a few times going underneath some things to a spot, and I found some scrapes and rubs and prints and trail and some wild grapes. I found some of them out there, and I said, okay, looks like a good spot. So I kind of set up out there. I said, okay, this is going to be my tree, and I tacked it and stuff for when I would come back to hunt it. So I had a couple of different spots.
Did you put any cameras up out there?
No, I didn't have the cell cameras I do now. So I was just kind of going on the merits of the location, what they presented to me. Kind of that way there.
I'd just be curious out there in all that dense cover, with like all those deer. I'd just be curious to see what kind of bucks were around.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, and there are some big ones. I mean, there's a few big ones. There's one by Island Lumber. Everybody keeps telling me about a big 12-point. Keeps crossing Pulpus Road all the time. People keep telling me they see it, and they said, "This is where you got to set up, and this is where he's coming through." And I go, "Well, there's a reason he's alive, and he's been around for like 6 or 7 years,
night. Yeah,
whatever." So, but gun season, it gets incredibly pressured. There's a lot of folks on the island that gun hunt. And there's a lot of folks that will come over to gun hunt, and they'll, and they will know somebody. They've been it's almost like a hunt camp type of thing where they've been doing it for years. So they know somebody that they stay with and whatnot. And they take a lot of deer. I mean, they take, a lot of deer in these deer drives. They get out to these fire breaks, out to the conservation, and they push these deer out into them. And it's just like that old Daffy Duck cartoon when he walks out into the middle of something and all these Elmer Fudd gun hunters come out of nowhere in a circle and they're all firing in type of deal on him and like blow the bill off of his face and stuff. But archery hunting out there, you've got to get into the thick stuff. That's where the deer are. That's where they feel safe because they are really up on human pressure, and when they start seeing the humans coming into the woods and off the hiking paths, then they know something. They know, here we go again. Here comes another season, type of deal. And I keep hearing that from different hunters out there. And so the buck that I took last year, when I took him, I had a couple of does out for about 20 yards from me, right by a big cedar tree that had a substantial rub on it. And around that area, most of the grapes were taken up to like as far as the deer could reach, browsing it and stuff. So I was kind of in a spot like that, and then I noticed the doe, one of the two does, kind of like looking behind me, and I said, "Oh, something's behind me," and I kind of turned around, and here comes the buck coming around me, and the reason I say almost like the reason why I took him, it was unusual. He had his left tine only went up a couple inches, then curled around his eye socket. I'd never seen anything like that.
His main beam or like his
main
brow
beam.
tine?
Yeah, his main beam just came up, and so he almost had like no left side tine at all, almost,
cool.
but because it came up and kind of curled around his eye, and then he had like 3 points on the right side. So in the time that it was only a matter of just like maybe 15 seconds or so by the time I saw him and recognized what his headgear was to the time I took the shot and stuff. And I just said, okay, made the decision, I'm going to take him, boom, draw 12 yards, I think is what it was. He was close to the trail that I was set up on that had some decent buck prints in it. But I said, it's right here, it's right now. It's my first day hunting on Nantucket. I'm not going to go home skunked.
That was your first day hunting
my
there?
First day hunting there was I took him at 4:30. I get into the tree at 2 o'clock.
Cool.
So 2.5 hours in.
How far was your walk to get into your spot? Like how?
Probably off the road where my manager lives. It was, like 300 or 400 yards probably.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't. I don't think it was even 500 yards.
So it wasn't a whole
nothing
ton
crazy.
of bushwhacking.
Yeah. No, nothing too crazy, but the recovery thing was what almost started to scare me because it's so thick.
Yep. And
I said, okay, I take all, and it was a good shot, everything. I used to drive a race car at Seekonk Speedway back in the 90s, and still to this day, everything slows down from doing like being up to speed and driving like that. And they say everything kind of you kind of learn how to process everything faster so it slows down for you.
Yeah.
So I saw like the shot go through the body of the deer and knew it was a good shot. He mule kicked. I knew it was a good shot, and then he did his thing, took off. And I watched as far as I could, which wasn't long because it's so thick he just disappeared. So, and I said, boy, I hope this blood trail is good because this, taking the gear down now, it's starting to get a little dark out, it's going to be dark by like 6 o'clock, 6:30 at that time of year. Second week of October. And about 10, 15 minutes into the recovery, I'm doing it and I'm losing blood, stepping back. And one of the things my buddy Eric taught me in Arkansas was never walk in front of the blood that you don't see. You always stay never walk in front of last blood
Yeah.
if you can help it.
Yep.
Whatever. Always look, you're at blood. If you look for the next one before you take another step.
Yeah.
When you see something over there, then you proceed to that, if you can help it that way. Sometimes, it doesn't work out that way.
Yep.
But always at least mark where your last blood is if you've got to move.
Makes sense. You don't want to wipe it away and
Exactly.
you
Do something
or
or whatever. But, and it got to the point, like 15 minutes into, he didn't go more than like maybe 40 yards or so from where I shot him. But it was just so thick. I had to get on my hands and knees and kind of look for a deer that was laying on its side.
Yeah.
Hoping to see like the white fur of its rear end
Yeah.
or whatever, hoping to see that. And that's how I saw him. Actually, I had to kind of get down on my knees, look around, and he was under a scrub oak that was no low understory and stuff. And then, all right, I got him. I don't care if it's dark out, if I got to field dress him then, I'll deal with it, and I can do that and stuff. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, and getting them. So I just go back out to the
So
truck.
you've only hunted Nantucket one day?
No, I was there 3 days.
Okay.
Yep, I hunted 3
Hunted
days.
two more after that?
Yeah, I hunted 2 more after that, and saw some deer out there in it, but nothing that gave me a shot with where I had it. They never walked into the open.
Did you go back to the same spot?
Lanes that I had. I had a couple different spots.
Yeah.
I did go back to that same spot the third day. I let it lay down for a day, and went back there the third day. But and I did see another big spike
Yep.
out there actually, and I said, all right, if I take him, I'm tagged out.
Yeah.
and that's it. And I said, okay, maybe I will. I'll take him, and if he gives me the shot, then I'll take it and I'll go home with 2 deer instead of 1.
Yeah.
And stuff, and chalk it up for an experience of that year, type of thing. But he didn't give me a shot opportunity, and the couple other deer that I did see out there didn't, in the areas that I was set up at, just didn't, they just never came out into a spot where I could get an ethical shot off on them and stuff. So, but I was like, no. Experience, first deer, and all that and whatnot in Nantucket, and
That's cool.
and stuff. It was.
What's the wind like out there?
It can get real.
It's got to be.
It can get real windy. It goes. It can vary. I mean, you can go from nothing, and then in the morning you can go to 25 miles an hour in the afternoon.
Because that buck was coming from behind you,
Yep.
so
Yep, and I
presumably
had,
your wind was carrying into him, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a crosswind coming across. Like say,
Okay.
I was set up to take the shot in front of me, and the wind was crossing in front of me.
Yeah.
Where he came behind me, the wind. He would have maybe caught my my crosswind, but he didn't. He just kept like moseying along. He didn't pick up on me. He didn't stop. He had the same cadence. He just kept moving.
Wondering
along.
if it's like a swirly type wind out there.
Yeah, and it is. Yep. And it is when you get in like those, because it's a lot of like what we say, like not like pine spruce trees and stuff. And I was set up in one of those actually. A lot of poison ivy. A lot of poison ivy out there, man. You got to be careful when you're setting up a tree. Those poison ivy is just climbing up that tree like crazy all over the place. You got to really be careful.
I get
what
it
you're
once a
picking out.
year at least, I think.
Yeah. I had some when I came back after a few
Sumac.
days. I had it on like my wrists.
Yeah.
And
Going
and
through
stuff.
swamps. I always get it around swamps. They got all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah. So it's, in summary of that, like going on an island hunt, you've got to treat it like an out-of-state hunt, really, because a lot of that expense-wise to some degree.
How'd you get your deer back? Did you chop it up, or did you?
No, I brought him back in my truck in the sled. I brought him to our trucking terminal, cleaned him out with the hose, got him up on the forklift, and strung him to an I-beam in the outside warehouse. We have an outside area, so I hung him like you would on a gambrel, like you would at home, and I had one of my coolers. I had like 5 bags of ice in it, and I put a bag of big, like 50-pound, or whatever, 25-pound bag, whatever it was, a big bag of ice in it, and I took a moving blanket and I wrapped them around it, the moving blanket around the deer, and put a load strap around it, and made a refrigerator out of them.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me this at
the
Springfield
Springfield
show.
show, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
using
had
a
pictures of
moving
that, and I
blanket.
showed John Eberhart that. He goes, "What is up with this blanket you get around the deer?" And I explained to him how it was, and like the next 2 nights when I was there, I would come back and put another bag of ice in them, and then wrap them back up. So when I brought them back to my processor in Quincy, is where he is, Dean, up there, and we put him up into his shed, up there, and there was still ice from the first bag I put in there, like
So it worked really
a few
well.
days. Yeah, it worked great. When you would put your hands up inside the blanket to feel the deer underneath it, it was cold. I go, boy, this is working out pretty good.
Yep.
And stuff. So that, because I do, one of the things I am on the pro staff of Engel Coolers, which is a high-end cooler company like a Yeti. And I have been for 10 years. So I've got a myriad of coolers at home. I think I brought like my 80-quart cooler out there with me and put like 6 bags of ice. I had it packed. So if I took one or more deer out there, I would have adequate ice to ice them down. I had an idea how I was going to hang them before I got out there and stuff. So
Probably pretty easy to get doe tags there too.
it is. You can get unlimited doe tags. What it comes down to, you can get them online, and then you can just keep getting them. Because
If you are gonna take it as if you're gonna go out there and hunt it like it's a, out of state hunt, and you're gonna spend all that money, you might as well
you better get
kill
something.
a few does.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to come home empty-handed, because after like going through like that expense, you want to bring something home, regardless of what it is, and then you build on the experience after that and stuff. Which
Wonder
is
if you could bring like an e-bike over there.
Sure.
Instead of just instead of the
You can.
truck.
Yep.
Figure out how to use an e-bike.
Almost all the island kids are on electric bikes. Nobody pedals anymore. These kids, they got the bike pass around the island. These kids are all on electric bicycles now.
But like an e-bike with a little trailer or something.
Sure.
That's set up for a mobile hunting scenario.
Yep. That's like I think I've seen a few people on YouTube who have like a tag along behind a bike, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
I've seen that and stuff, but that's certainly one way to look at that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wonder. So on the way over there, though, checking a bike, it will probably. You think it would count as like a motorcycle or a bike or
no, a bike like that? I mean, would just count as like whatever the bike rate is, like $12 or something like that, as opposed to $600.
Yeah. So, that's not a bad idea.
Like a pickup truck, because remember, when you go over, you're paying for the vehicle length, and then you got to pay for the passengers also on top of it, which it was only like $17, whatever. So my wife came over with me the first couple of days before I started hunting. So we spent a couple of days on the island together, and then she took the boat back, and then I started hunting when she left.
And you stayed at your boss's
Yeah, I had a place. I had a private residence to stay at, which is fortunate. I was had that in the company I worked for was the biggest customer of the Steamship Authority, so I had access to boat resos and when I needed them.
That's
and
great.
Stuff, so that kind of worked out to me. But with some pre-planning, it could be the same for anybody.
When do those reservations open up?
Those typically they'll open up. We're in April now, so we're talking like Valentine's Day-ish, roughly mid-February is the time. If you're thinking about doing something like that, you want to think early in the season. You can always call the steamship saying, hey, I want to bring my truck over for whatever date, whatever one of those resos available, and they'll say, okay, they're going to go available February 15th or whatever the date might be on that and stuff. So.
And actually, just thinking about it too, if you can get a group of guys to go do it, then you split 4 people in one truck, and it's only $150
it's the same way with the housing. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really not. And if you're from Massachusetts, the Mass license, before the price increase, but it was fairly, really reasonable. So you're not paying, you're hunting on your same license. You don't have to buy another separate license. It is, you do still treat it as like an out-of-state hunt because of the logistics of getting there and back.
Yep.
But if if you live here and you're hunting here, you've already got the license, so you're getting it anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that. And then if you've got 3 or 4 guys, in the truck, that's fine in between the reso and if you have to pay for accommodations and stuff. So it can be certainly more reasonable to do that way.
It sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's
really an interesting experience.
Adventure within arm's reach too. It's just right here.
Yeah, Nantucket on a ferry ride it's 2 hours 15 minutes to go over there on the slow boat. And fast ferry is an hour.
Yep, I've been out in Nantucket plenty of times. Just never thought about it for deer.
But it's
that's super helpful going through all of that. And I met a guy at a different sportsman show who he runs I forget. I think he runs some kind of a bear hunting camp up in Maine, but he likes to hunt on Nantucket, and he goes down and shed hunts there. And
Okay.
he has some incredible sheds.
Oh yeah, yep. And some of the guys that work with me over on Nantucket, they'll come that live on the island. They'll one of the guys is actively he's with like the Boy Scout troop out there, and they're always doing stuff out in the woods and camping and otherwise. And one of the big things is shed hunting, and he's always finding all kinds of. He'll bring them into me. Oh, look at the shed that I found. Look at the shed that and different. Every once in a while, he brings something in. I'm like, man. You go, boy, there's some good deer out there. It's just a matter of getting on top of them. And like I said, it can be difficult because of the conditions of where these deer want to live. I mean, they are not presenting themselves out in the open because these guys that are pushing cannot push through this thick stuff. Like I said, you cannot walk straight up through it. You just can't do it. So they're pushing on the outskirts of that towards like where the fire breaks are and getting those deer out in those areas out into those open areas.
I found that most of the time, I'm sure every once in a while, a really nice, big, mature giant gets killed and pushes. Sure. But most of the places that I've heard about, and also where I hunt, where there is a lot of gun pressure, like every year it's the same. I've got a few nice big bucks that I, have been watching all season. I'm hoping to get them in bow, and then gun comes around, and you see 14 guys. Like one time, I put a friend in one of my stands. I wasn't hunting. I was already tagged out with bucks, and I sent him to this spot where I knew there's a couple of my big target bucks from around there, and you saw 14 different guys that day pushing through.
No kidding.
He was. They didn't even see him. He was up in his tree, and he saw 14 different guys. So, and then I'm thinking, okay, this place is heavily gun hunted and heavily pushed. Yep. And I hadn't seen either of those bucks for a long time. But I went and checked the camera a couple, maybe 6 weeks ago now, and it had both of them in there in February. So, I think the one, even though it's a really heavily gun hunted or heavily pushed areas with gun, don't overlook that because you think, there's not going to be very many good bucks in there. I think the biggest mature bucks are going to avoid those gun pushes most of the time.
Yeah, they'll pick up on that pressure.
They're going to go into that really, really thick stuff.
Yeah. That's the security cover. And one of the things to take away from the John Eberhart workshop, he's always security cover for these deer. When he hunts public land, he won't go to a location that he can walk upright to. He's either going to cross water, get on his hands and knees, something to that degree. When you were out on the farm with him on the first day and he's showing you his different locations on the private property, he would say, I would never even look at this in public land because it's too easy to get to. And that's like a big thing. And that's one of the things that I have learned being back in Massachusetts and just being into the archery hunting especially, is you go scouting and you'll go scout a piece of public or something, and typically it won't take me more than 10, 15, 20 minutes tops to find my first ladder stand somewhere out there, and that leads to the second one, and it usually leads to the third one. And and I mark them with my Onyx and stuff no matter where I am. Whenever I'm scouting, I'm always really meticulous that I'm marking all my rubs, scrapes, hunter sign, and whatnot like that. And that I find that extremely helpful for if I do choose that location to set up in, wherever it may be, to kind of go back and then say, okay, this looks like a pattern. Here's a rub line and whatever, a scrape line, a primary scrape, perimeter scrape, something like that, and go.
Yeah, when you have that technology available and you're paying for it, you might as well put as much information in there as possible. Yeah,
when I first started hunting in Massachusetts on my uncle's private property he had in Freetown, it was an area that we had years back. I had helped him. Help the survey crew out there survey. So I had maps of it. Topo, all the locations, any monuments, stone walls, all that. So, and when I moved back here, I went back to the engineering company, the land surveying company. They printed the maps back up for me. And if I found anything on that property, I would get out my scale, and I had to draw it out.
Yeah.
Whatever, like, okay, it's so many feet off this stone wall, and because I would kind of like paste things out and like kind of like write it on an index card and go home and then put it on the map and then kind of like
so much easier now, isn't it?
Yeah, now you.
But not as fun, maybe.
Yeah. Not as much pencil work, I guess. Doing it that way.
You probably know where some of the ancient all the old settlements and stuff
it's
are.
amazing when you're out into these pieces of property, these stone walls that are in the middle of the woods now, and they had to be built 150 years ago.
We got to talk to Pat Burns about it because he loves metal detecting, and he was out the other day and found like a rare Indian Native American pendant.
Really?
A slate pendant.
Sure.
That's like they're like that long, and they've got a drilled hole in the top,
no
and they used to wear it around their
Yeah.
chest and around their neck, and it would fall on their chest there, and it would keep spirits away and give them good, good luck while hunting and stuff. He found one of those. That was by luck because he metal detects, and it was stone. He was just in the area that he was metal detecting. He just happened to see it, but he likes to find those remote.
Sure.
Hidden places.
It's a lot of fun. Even when I was younger, my dad was a land developer, and I would always work with the survey crew when they would come out, and you'd find the stone walls, and they would teach you how to find like the drill holes in the stone walls for like turning points and stuff. They would make with a hammer and a chisel. Back in the day, like a square hole or turn, something that would look so insignificant, just a little dimple on a rock. Okay, here's the drill hole right here. I'm like, how? What? Are you kidding me?
What was the point of finding the drill hole?
Oh, when you're surveying, because usually that's like a lot corner or a property corner, a boundary, a turning point.
They didn't have rebar and shit.
No, they would do different things like meets and out here. The survey system is different, like a meets and bounds, as opposed to out west where it's a grid, and you have sections, quarter sections, all that. And out here you don't really have that. It's always like way back they used to do like links of chain and stuff on two rods, and they would certain measurements would be in rods on the deeds that you would look up and stuff. So that was I was always very interested in that growing up, and I always loved being out in the woods and finding. I still do whenever I'm out in the woods scouting a new piece of property. I always love being out there for the first time and finding anything new like that. It's always really interesting.
Old cellar holes and stuff.
That you find wells and stuff that were dug by hand way back in the line with stones coming up, and somebody did that 150 years ago.
Oh, I want to see what's in the middle of Hockomock Swamp.
Yeah. No, I go by that. My wife's family lives out by there.
Indian artifacts out there because that was their last stronghold during the one of those wars, right? With the French, was it?
I can't remember.
Might have been just the Europeans.
Yeah, that's a big area. A lot of stories out there, and that can be formidable.
Yeah. Oh, I know it.
Going out in that
again,
spot.
It's obstacles.
Oh yeah, and that's where the deer
go in there. Yeah,
and
into
that's
the middle.
Where they're hunting, you got to go where where the humans don't want to go. Eberhart's big thing was, if I went into your house, where would I kill you? I'd kill you. Where are you going to be? Well, you're always going to be in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Whatever, and you're always going to be in your kitchen. At least, whatever. You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to go to sleep, typically. So he said those are the two locations I'm looking for. Whatever. When I go hunting, and then he goes, and then when you're out scouting in a location, and make yourself think that you are the deer. Where would I go not to get killed?
Yeah, like if somebody was invading your house, where's your safe place?
Yeah, where's your safe room? Type of deal. And where's the deer's safe room? Out in the natural, out in the wild, and typically it's the thickest stuff that the humans cannot physically get to, quickly and stuff. So that's where they go, through the swamps, the water, the thick cover.
Yeah, it was cool last year. That buck, the Euro there that I shot, it took 27 hours to recover.
Yeah.
That blood trail brought me through places I would have never went into.
Yeah.
But I had to because I was on blood. But I would have never. It was so thick that I would never wanted to get in there.
I remember the videos on that.
And he was just, and it's kind of cool now that I know. That's he took me through a few of his safe places.
Oh sure, yeah, yep, exactly. That's something.
Yeah, but listen, man, this has been great. We're already an hour and 45 minutes in.
So hopefully there's still one or two people still on board listening to this somewhere.
Yeah, there's
pick something up off of it.
I can look at the stats on YouTube, and usually it's like 25% make it all the way through.
Yeah. It can get tough, but I as we're ending this conversation, I'm hunting wise, I'm new to the game. I started late. I didn't start hunting until I was 45 years old.
Yeah.
Or my late 40s, not 45, but my late 40s, and and you can do it. I mean, there's still there's still plenty. You don't have to start when you're a teenager and be brought up in a hunting household. I wasn't. I wasn't brought up in a hunting household, and I kind of learned on my own. But nowadays you have the YouTube and podcasts and things like that shorten the curve, that shorten the learning curve.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would recommend to anyone tuning in that's new or newer to hunting, like I am, is pick a system, pick a way to hunt. Where you're going to hunt off the ground, hunt off a climber, ladder, saddle, whatever it is, and whatever is comfortable for you to do, and spend your time researching that.
Don't try to do too much, right?
Yeah,
don't try to hunt it all those ways the first year. Yeah, choose one and get good at it.
Pick one. Like I started with the ladders, and I did that for a few years, and then I got to the point where I realized that it wasn't working for me anymore. I was getting close to deer and I was getting picked off. Okay, what's my next move after this? How do I want to do it? Then I got into the saddle. So that's where I am now. And then I got to where, as far as I could take it myself, and I said, okay, I need help. I need to go to that next level. And when you go to the next level, you're going to pay to go to the next level. And that's, between like the Dan Infalts, the John Eberharts, and the different guys that are out there, that even Bo Martonic and those guys that have the different workshops that you can go to and gain the knowledge. I always look at, even listen to a podcast, if I get one piece of information out of it, listening to it for that hour or two that I didn't know before, then it was worth my time, because I don't have a lot of time.
Yep.
As busy, you don't have a lot of time. And most of the people listening to this don't have a lot of time these days. So your time is really valuable. And you want, whenever I see a podcast that's titled, BS session or whatever, then I'm swipe delete. I don't need BS sessions. I need to learn something when I'm listening to something.
But be careful, because those could, sometimes you do get really good nuggets out of the BS sessions.
Yeah, oh sure.
They're just bad, they're just titling it wrong or whatever.
And I'm always looking to learn like if I can get one thing out of it. And then maybe if someone's listening to this, if they got one thing out of it, you don't have to be young to get started like me. You can change up hunting methods. One thing with scouting, I mean, there's certain different things that, we get together again sometime. We can get more into scouting. We can get more into, everybody's always interested, how do I get sponsored by somebody to do something?
Yeah.
It's always a big thing. My Angle Pro Staff sponsorship that I've had for 10 years.
Which predates hunting.
It predates hunting.
For you.
But when I was racing back in the 90s, and I developed those sponsorship relationships with different vendors back then, that helped me attain the cooler sponsorship from Angle and stuff. So we can, get together again another time. We can go through that stuff, and then if I go back to Nantucket, there might be another story to tell if I hunting out there, and then we get the season coming up, and turkey season is still going.
So much of that, and hunt stock's coming up, and like you say, like the workshops. I went to the Big Woods Bucks one up in northern Maine a few weeks ago, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
and it's just getting an intimate kind of setting with anybody who's knowledgeable in whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
You're going to learn a ton, and hunt stock is going to be kind of like, 20 little pockets of that.
Exactly.
You can go do that with the saddle guys and Andrew and Wild Edge, and there might be a couple other saddle brands coming to join that area. And
you're going to have Hellblood out there, whatever.
Yeah, and their whole team members of 20 of those
and
guys.
It makes a big difference when you're physically in front of somebody and something pops in your head and you can ask them that question.
Yep.
Right there when they're right in front of your face. And sometimes you have to pay for it, whether it's an event, a seminar or whatever, or a private workshop or something, these guys, their knowledge is worth something. I mean, that's just how it is. It's just
for sure.
And it is when you do get with the right people and you pay for it. I don't have any regrets to the drive and the money I spent to go out to Michigan to do what I did a couple of weeks ago with John. And I would even think about going back out there again in a few years just as a refresher if he's still doing it at that time, because it was just so much fun being around those like-minded people and him. And if he just comes up with something else between now and then and a few years from now, knowledge, I want to know what it is. and so he can pass that along. Those guys, no, they want to teach people.
And you got to see if they took any of your ideas from
Yeah.
any of your innovations.
Exactly. And you've even have the Whitetail Wisdom blog online and
I
stuff.
know I haven't done anything with that in like 6 months.
And we had talked about that. I can certainly help you with that somewhat. We'll start getting some a few things going on with that. Whatever, maybe you get hunt stock out of the way and do that, and
then
stuff as busy as you are with that, and then
revive that blog.
You can revive that, get a few things into that'll help people out. I mean, as I'm growing older, you want to leave something for somebody else that's kind of getting into it or whatever.
And it's an interesting time in your life where you're still ascending so much in hunting and learning so much all the time. Yeah. But you also want to pass on.
And
you want to help get new people into hunting.
And there's a few things, like I said, with the sponsorship deal and stuff with different companies that I had racing, and then I've developed like with Angle, and talking with a couple of other hunting related folks out there. It's something that's not like I don't have the hunting expertise as like most people do. I'm new to that, but I'm not new to talking to people and kind of getting them on board with me to help me out with different things and stuff. So and that's something that's easy for me to pass on.
We should talk to Angle too. I've reached out to pretty much every cooler. I actually might have reached out to Angle too, but most brands just don't want to be involved in hunt stock and the cooler space. Yetis, Ice Mule coolers. There's quite a few in the fishing space that I reached out to too. I haven't got a lot of traction there. Arctic or in any of those. More big,
Yeti's the big player in the space. I mean, they just are. They have been for a long time. Angle's a family-owned company.
And you get the same canned response back. Oh, we've all of our budget's been allocated and donations for this year, but good luck with the event, right? It's like all right, And I know because I've done sponsorships for the last 12 years for different brands too.
Yeah. When I started racing, I had all of my sponsorship lined up before I even started racing my first year, and I'd never raced before, and I got people excited doing like what I was going to be doing then, and get them to commit X amount of dollars to it before I even got into a race car. And I said, okay, I'm not going to do this unless I can get this thing paid for. I don't want to be pulling money out of my own pocket.
You were underwriting it.
So I had it done, and I had a better sponsorship package than the pro stock guys did at the track I raced at, the guys in the upper levels. And they would be coming to me saying, with all these sponsorship decals on your car, how are you doing? How are you getting this and that? Even Snap-on Tools gave me a sponsorship where I got like a discount off of my tools and stuff. Everything, when you're looking for a hunting-related sponsorship especially, you're not going to get free gear out of the box. That's just not how it works. I mean, you're not a bow company, cooler company, no matter what it is. Oh yeah, we'll sponsor you. We'll give you free this clothing or whatever. You're gonna start out at a discount level. Okay, this is what we retail it for. We'll knock it down this percentage, whatever. Then you're with us so many years, we might knock it down more after that. And that's just kind of. And the big thing is they want to know what's going on with what you have. Whether it's a race car sponsorship, how you're spending their money. You tell them how you're spending their money, they give you more money. Just like with Angle, you tell them how you're using your coolers, you send them pictures of this, that, how, and stuff. Then okay, what else do you need? Whatever. Do you need anything else? Just let us know. Whatever type of thing.
Yeah, sponsorships. The main thing to realize with sponsorships is that it has to be a even relationship.
Yep. You have to
give them value.
Yep, exactly.
Otherwise, it's like they're you might get something for free one time, and if you're lucky. Yep. And then you're never going to get anything again.
And they want to feel appreciated.
Partnership.
Exactly. And they want to feel appreciated, and they want to feel like you have to develop a relationship back and forth and stay in touch with them, and not just disappear for a year, then come back and say I need this, that. Well, we haven't heard from you in 6 months or 12 months. What have you been doing?
Right.
Well, so whenever I get anything like on my Instagram stuff, I always hashtag Angle and whatever, email them down to them, send them pictures of like stuff. Okay, this is the had the deer process it all fit into the 65 quart cooler. Here it is. Here's a picture of everything vacuum sealed in the cooler and stuff and whatnot. And they like seeing that stuff. That stuff. As long as as long as you keep them informed, then you can develop these relationships for years, for almost a lifetime with some companies.
For sure.
And stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. It's been awesome. Very
Yeah.
wide ranging and awesome conversation.
It's great. No, it's a pleasure to be here, to do this with you. It was great to meet you at the show in Springfield. I know we had corresponded briefly before that, and whatnot. And this is great. I hope to be back again and to pass on whatever different knowledge I may have and stuff. And I'm always listening to your podcast. Every time it's either whether it's at YouTube or in the truck.
Yep.
On the Apple Play and stuff. It's one of the few Northeast-based podcasts, and that was something I was looking for. Like when I saw John Eberhart on YouTube and said, okay, this is a guy that's dealing with what I'm dealing with. This podcast, with the guests that you've had on, as long as you've been doing it, deals with stuff that I deal with out there. So I'm always picking up something. Because when I heard my first one on Spotify, I was just randomly going through hunting podcasts and Hunt Suburbia. Well, that's got to be suburban stuff, kind of like what I do. Out of Northeast Massachusetts, well, I got to give this guy a listen.
That's how you stumbled on it?
That's how I stumbled on it. And then it went from there. And I would be listening to it on the ferry rides back and forth to Nantucket. And I'm like, no, all of a sudden 4 episodes, 5, 6 episodes of all these guys
and commuting so much,
and stuff. And I'm like, all right, I learned this, whatever. This guy's doing that, whatever. This guy's from this area, they're from this area.
Yeah.
And it really it really does help. So it's been, a pleasure to discover this form that you're creating.
I appreciate that
and stuff. And when you had mentioned like the hunt stock deal, I said, well, I know he's got something to do with like the Spartan racing or whatever. That should fall right into his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
For doing something like that, he can pull this thing off.
That was the whole idea. Was that I was around Spartan in the beginning. I haven't been really involved with the event side of it in a long time. I'm corporate now and doing national and international sponsorships sometimes and putting together big deals and contracts and things like that. Not involved in the day-to-day. But back in 2010 when I first started, I was wearing 8 million hats at Spartan, and I was doing contracts, but I was also setting up the events and building obstacles starting the Spartan merchandise and apparel line and building that tent up.
Sure.
And, you go through everything. The registration, and you need volunteers are huge.
Oh, yeah.
We have 500 to 1,000 volunteers a day to do a Spartan. That's how many you need.
It's more than a PGA golf event.
Yeah, that's how many you need at a Spartan race. So, now I know it's one thing I hadn't thought about until recently is how much, volunteers we're going to need at Huntstock. You still need some, but you don't need 500.
Yeah, you're better having more than less.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's why we're looking for at least 20, and if those fill up and we want to open up a few more per day, 30 per day, whatever, you can't go wrong with volunteers. And volunteers always a very close knit. All the people that are in your volunteer class, it's kind of like the ones you go to the workshops with. And people that you get to know everybody.
Yeah,
exactly. If you're somebody who's just getting into hunting, like the first 2 guys that reached out, this guy's never hunted before. He's been a big fisherman, lives in Boston. This will be his first season coming up. Him and a buddy are going to come and volunteer together, but they're also going to meet other like-minded people and maybe hunting buddies and people that
especially if they're new with
them.
That format that you're putting together out there, they have access to all of that information.
You have access to all of that great information for $40 in a day. And you don't have to say how much the Eberhart thing costs or the Big Woods Bucks thing up in northern Maine.
I mean, anything when you do a big workshop like that, you're spending hundreds of dollars a day.
Yep.
Hundreds at the minimum. For that stuff. Some of these guys, for a 2-3 day workshop, they're getting into the thousands of dollars, depending on the name recognition and whatnot, and stuff. So you do have to pay for the knowledge out there if you're looking to go to up your game to the next level, especially and stuff. So
and Huntstock's kind of like a 3-day, it's like going to school. It's a 3-day. But fun and conversational. Plus, you can go shoot the 3D course. Plus, you can win $5,000 in prizes every day, and all these awesome door prizes we're giving away. I mean, it's just...
and you get access to all the different vendors that are going to be there. And especially if you're new to the game, kind of like I was when I first moved back up to Massachusetts for the area. I didn't know an archery shop. I didn't know, let's say, like a processor or a mounting guy or different, or gear guy doing some different things. And you're going to have those people up there. So that's going to really help out, especially the newer folks that are looking to get into it. At least give them a base of knowledge to kind of start things out with and stuff. That's going to be pretty exciting for him.
Yep. Well, I'm super excited about it, and again, thanks for coming. We'll stop this one here, and we'll have you back on in the future,
great.
man.
Sounds great. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Yep.